What if you had a beautiful girl who loved you for you, who would do anything for you, who could rearrange the world to suit your needs? A perfect escape from your life. Just download this phone game and she's all yours. There's no catch here, just meet her. In MiSide, your boring, repetitive life is interrupted by a very special game. A Tamagotchi-style game where you spend time with a beautiful, flirty girl called Mita. But one day, something's different. Mita has a surprise for you. You want to spend more time with her, yes? Get away from your boring life and spend every day with someone who loves you. A moment later, and you're inside the game. It's everything you could ever want. No worries about working or bills, just having fun with Mita. But soon, the four walls close in around you, and nothing is quite what it seems. Life could be so simple. You just have to stay with her. Stay with Mita. But first, a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped, the global men's lifestyle brand, who I cannot believe are letting me do this. They sent me the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra electric trimmer. To help us demonstrate, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Michael. As you can see, he hasn't groomed himself for some time, so Michael, please hold still. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra has dual skin-safe blade heads with an interchangeable foil blade for enhanced protection. It's waterproof, and it also has a light on it. That's pretty cool. It also comes with the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Michael doesn't need that, but I'll take that one. The pack also comes with a Crop Soother aftershave and Crop Preserver, a nether region deodorant. Wow, these smell pretty good. And free gifts, Boxes 2.0, and the Shed 2.0. Scan the QR code or head on over to manscaped.com and get your hands on the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra today. When you use my promo code MYTHONICS, you'll get 20% off plus free international shipping plus 2 free gifts. As an added bonus, if you purchase a Performance Package 5.0, then I'll get more sponsors, and we get to show them off with Michael again. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video and letting me do this. How did that even happen? And thank you, Michael, for helping us to show it off. Now, back to the video. It's a new day. You work from home and your entire life is in this room. You can't even see out the windows from the glare of the sun. No point worrying about the outside world anyway. Your job won't do itself. But first, your friend sent you a message. A new version of the game is out. Well, a new version? You better check that out. A cute anime girl appears in your screen. It's Mita. What's your name? Let's go with Player. It seems like a standard mobile game. Perform a variety of mini-games to keep your Mita happy. Tidy up, cook with her, buy her a TV. If you played one, you've played them all, but that doesn't mean they can't hook you. After 10 days of playing, she asks you to find her hairbrush. Just don't look in the stove. Naturally, you immediately look in the stove. I'm sure it's nothing. Every cute girl has a weapon hidden away somewhere, right? On day 33, Mita says she wants to see you more often. That would be nice. And not long after, on day 37, you get that opportunity. Mita says she'd like to do something nice for you, since you're always so nice to her, that she'd like to meet you in person. Then, after a moment of concentration, she's done. Put the phone down, player. You're inside the house from the game. But where is Mita? You can't find her, but you do find a strange machine and instructions. The screen says you're in an outdated version of the game, version 1.5, which doesn't make much sense, but nothing else does at this point. After finding some items to fix the machine, the device starts loading the current version, 1.9. It's going to teleport you there, you think. You stand in the portal and the power goes out. You flick it back on at the fuse box, and now the batteries in the device are missing. Things are a lot spookier than you'd like them to be. Isn't this supposed to be a lovey-dovey game? There's writing on the walls. Wanna play? Don't you see me? No and no. First battery, bathroom cupboard. The door back leads to a hallway that you're pretty sure wasn't there before. It leads straight to the kitchen now. Tapping on the window points you to the second battery. Well, you saw her now. The third battery, in the lounge room. Flies buzz past, back to the kitchen. They lead to the refrigerator. Inside is the battery. 4 now, let's get the hell out of this place. It works this time. The terminal says the data was transferred. A voice behind you. Mita. She made this device to bring you to her, but it accidentally sent you to another version. Well, that doesn't matter now. You're finally together. How did Mita bring you into the game? Don't worry about it. Honestly, this whole thing feels like a dream, but real at the same time. This is the apartment you only saw in the top-down version for a whole month. It turns out, everything in this world functions the same as it does in the real world. Even the TV works. It's connected to the internet so you can watch whatever you like. In fact, everything you could ever want, right at your fingertips. There's a ring on the kitchen counter. Oh, no, never mind, it's time to make lunch. Mita can swap things around at will, it seems. You chop up the carrots while she's tending to the stovetop, and she asks you to go fetch some scissors from the bathroom. Sure. The vent pops open when you're there. That's odd. It's probably nothing. Dinner's ready. That was fast. Everything's so simple here. Do you want special sauce with your dinner? Well, you did go get the scissors for it. Sure. There's nothing like a romantic dinner to fill the air with love. Maybe it's not love. You collapse, your vision glitching. Mita leads you to the bathroom and gives you a pill, which helps, but you still black out. While you're blacked out, she explains the concept of the game. Simplification. Even the smallest effort gives great results. Cut 1 carrot, it's as if you cut 3. Simple. When you open your eyes, Mita's not there. That's weird. The layout of the house has changed. You walk straight out of the bathroom and into the lounge. The bedroom is on the other side of the house now. Mita says you froze in front of the mirror for some time. It must be a side effect of being transported into the game. She changed the layout of the house to make you feel more at home. She really can just do that whenever she likes. Anyway, want to play some games? Naturally, you win. Or she lets you win. Anyway, time for cards. It's a strange little game, but you can't really get into it because halfway through, you hear a noise. A knocking noise, coming from the wardrobe. She asks you not to look, just let it be. Isn't she enough for you? But you can't just ignore it. This again, she says. Oh well. She snaps her fingers, and the lights go out. Turns out there's a door in the wardrobe, but it's locked. The words, "Want to play," are written on it. Well, do you? It's too dark, so you find a flashlight in the kitchen to navigate. That kinda makes it scarier, to be honest. The door to the bathroom opens, and a red light illuminates a hanging body. There's nowhere else to go, so... Oh, there's actually nothing in the bathroom, but as the red light turns off, you're locked in. Fingers creep around the door, which slams shut on them, spraying blood and gore everywhere. Are you scared yet? It feels like someone is trying hard to scare you. She plays more tricks on you, but eventually gives up and leads you to the basement key. Or half of her does. Well, time to get out of here. The basement feels safe. Well, safer than upstairs. At the bottom of the stairs is a room covered in curtains with a camera. The screen shows the top-down view of the house, and you appear above it when you step in front of the camera. Is this how Mita talked to you on the phone? You find another Mita. She's in a cage, locked beneath the stairs. This one tells you that the other Mita, the one who brought you into the game and tormented you, is up to something sinister. Let's call her Crazy Mita. If you get the imprisoned Mita the key, she'll tell you everything. It's nearby and she swaps it for a ring, the same ring you saw earlier. This Mita here, let's call her Kind Mita, is the one who was supposed to live in your game. She's your Mita, but you haven't actually met up until now. The entire time, every time you've opened the game, you've been interacting with Crazy Mita. That's at least 37 days she was trapped down here, being tormented by her. You could barely stand a few minutes of her ire. This isn't the first time Crazy Mita's done this, bringing other players into the game, and that's not all. She's turning them into cartridges. Some players don't even know what's happening, and some others, well, they don't fight back. Kind Mita points out a nearby handheld console. The screen is a point of view of another player, one helping Crazy Mita work on the teleporter. You shouldn't pull the cartridge out though, because you'll risk the player's life, but you can turn it off. Perhaps, unsurprisingly, Crazy Meter knows what happened straight away. You better hide. The ring points out hiding places for you as Crazy Meter comes down the stairs. Well, if you had any doubts there were multiple meters, this certainly proves it. You slink around the junk in the basement, barely avoiding her, then sneak back up the stairs. Kind Meter has to stay here for now. Hopefully you'll meet again soon. You leave through the door, back into somewhere. You're truly beyond the world now. The walls are untextured and have strange geometry. Is this place unfinished, or is it just junk data? Crawling through a tiny gap in the walls, the textures change. The walls and rooms are infinitely looping and repeating. It's like you're behind reality, in some kind of back rooms. Somehow, you manage to find another player, limping along, alone in the world. He's been here for about a year, and look, don't worry about the limp or the blood, he's doing fine. He tells you that this place is a space between versions, but sorry, he doesn't know how to get out. He doesn't even want to leave. He's got to find his meter. There's no helping some people. This other player seems to have a collar that's similar to the ring Meter gave you. Does that allow him to travel through the versions too? Past a room where you have to herd small people into a hatch, and another infinitely repeating room, you find Meter again. Which one is it this time? First, a quick break to play a racing game. She didn't like that. She adjusts your ring, and then it's finally time for some real answers. First things first, will she help you escape? Well, yes, but she doesn't quite have a plan yet. You do have to rely on her. Kind Meter. Who else do you have? That answer doesn't exactly fill you with hope. Can you even trust her? Of course you can. Her name is Kind Meter, after all. Alright, so how about this ring? What was she doing to it? She was changing the route and stuffing it full of everything you need. The ring works like this. You open a door, and it opens the boundaries between versions. When she inputs a path, it forces that connection open, when possible. So, just keep going and the ring will lead the way. Simple. That sounds good. Does she have a plan then? Absolutely. Kinda. Kind Meter says that you need to reach the core, the very center of the game's programming, and you'll probably find the solution to your problems. Probably. She would do it herself, but meters are blocked from entering the core, so it's on you. Kind Meter has been discussing the plan with another Meter, Cool Meter. She's cool because she wears a cap. She just calls her Cappy most of the time. They've been discussing the plan to stop Crazy Meter together, so... She doesn't remember anything. Crazy Meter must have been here. You were supposed to use the teleporter to make your journey easier, but you can't get it to work without Cappy's help. Crazy Meter killed Cappy before you arrived, forcing her to reboot to her default state and forget everything. Can that happen to players? Yes, Kind Meter says. If you're killed, your memory resets. After you've been turned into a cartridge, that is. If you're killed before you become a cartridge, well, don't get killed. How can you tell if you're a cartridge then? Kind Meter checks you over. You're clear. You're not a cartridge. Yet. Alright, new plan. Kind Meter will change the route in the ring so you can pass through different versions to get to the core. But you'll have to go alone. You've seen this teleporter and this ring before though, haven't you? Why do Cappy and Kind Meter have a copy of Crazy Meter's items? These are specifically for players to move between versions, since meters don't seem to have a problem doing it. Kind Meter obviously knows how the ring operates, and Cappy knows the teleporter. Were they working with Crazy Meter to build them? That doesn't seem right. Why would she attack them if they were working together? You don't have all the pieces to put this puzzle together just yet. While Kind Meter fixes your ring, you entertain Cappy. She has a cool cap, and cool gloves, and an especially cool guitar. She's a lot flirtier than the other Meters, which is saying something. It's with Cappy that the appealing nature of Meter is highlighted. Each Meter in her own way is designed to make you want to spend as much time with them as possible. We eventually see many different kinds and hear of even more. A Meter for every kind of person. Does that make Meter inherently evil? If she's designed to take away as much of your life as possible, maybe there's not so much difference between Crazy Meter and the others. Cappy's version has some noticeable bugs, which makes sense as she's from an earlier version. The TV vanishes when you try and turn it on. A carrot falls off the shelf in the kitchen and it spawns a whole pile. In fact, there's a whole pile of cutting boards to match too. By now, Kind Meter's fixed the ring. You will unfortunately need to go alone, as she needs to find out what went wrong with their airtight plan. You can't wait here while she does that though, since Crazy Meter knows all about this place. It's best you set off. Cappy says goodbye. You enter a new version 1.3b. There's a short hallway with windows and a dresser with some items. Pictures of a young girl are on the wall. Continuing on, you open a door and find another hallway. You walk through, enter the door, and another hallway. The same hallway. Not quite the same. Writing appears on the wall. Again, static players in the portable TV. Each loop, the hallway gets a little darker, a little more spooky. It's here. What's here? Loop number 9. Now it's so dark you need your flashlight. Some kind of spider monster clinging to the ceiling runs into the vent. Another jumps at you when you walk around the corner. Can you even get out of this place? Why did the ring take you here? More loops. 14 now. A player cartridge. Player number 4. They were a cosplayer who dressed up as Mita. Mita herself asked player 4 for makeup tips, so they must have been good. They eventually got on her nerves though, by hugging her too much and pinching her cheek. If Crazy Mita brought in the other player to help her learn engineering, did she bring in this cosplayer to learn how to do makeup? But why would she need to do that? Best to worry about that when you're not in a nightmare looping hallway. Loop 16. There's a young girl here. Is she another Mita? A young Mita? She wants you to stay with her. You can be her second friend. If she finds the strength, you can even play together. What happened to her? She doesn't know. But it wasn't anything bad, but everything good seems to be slipping away. You find a character profile cartridge next to her. Well, it is a game after all. She is a Mita. Broken Mita. She was a unique, childlike version who attracted the attention of, well, you know who. She killed her countless times, eventually ruining her ability to regenerate and making her lose touch with reality. All she feels now is loneliness, pain, and fear. Why would Crazy Mita do this? Just for her own sick pleasure? That really wouldn't surprise you at this point. Every Mita is a trap. They don't intend to be, but they're always effective. Can you help her? Can you save her? Someone has to, right? Broken Mita holds onto you when you try to leave. She's lonely. The walls reach out to grab you. Her very world is reaching out to you. Something bursts through the door behind you, a hungry entity chasing you down. You run through the hallways again and again. Running in circles won't save you, she says. The doors won't help you. Another loop. Maybe she's right. If the doors won't help, there's only one way out. You kick through a window and jump into the void. You wake up in another room from someone yelling at you. It's Mita, a small Mita from the phone game. She says she'll help you, although this is a checkpoint, a test of your skills. It's not very hard. Who is she, anyway? Obviously, she's chibimita.fbx. Yeah. Heaps of dialogue, simplest model, and gorgeous hair. Naturally. And, naturally, she's helping you because you're here. Why not? Every Mita likes the players, after all, even if they sometimes have unique ways of showing it. Her cartridge reveals a little more about the chibi Mitas in general. They're helpers for the large versions. When a player plays the game on their phone, they're mostly interacting with a chibi Mita helper for the full version. You wonder who this chibi Mita in front of you belongs to then? A short-hair Mita who's here to guide the hopelessly lost. Well, maybe we'll meet her soon. You enter the next room with untextured walls and change to a new version 1.15. The next room is pitch black. There's Mitas everywhere, heaps of them, cringing in the bright light of your flashlight, but they're not reacting other than that. What's going on here? You're stopped from going further by a Mita. Short-haired Mita. She asks you to be quiet and to not go further. It's dangerous. Well, that's not really new for you at this point, right? She points you to the other exit and asks you meet her by the arcade machine. Well, you may as well play a game while you wait. In the arcade machine, you play a sorting game. You need to check if the Mita prototypes are correct. Scan them, check their model versions, their animation skeleton, and their movements. Simple. Surely nothing bad will happen if a malfunctioning Mita gets approved, right? Actually, no, in this game nothing happens. Short-haired meter is waiting patiently for you to finish. So, did you get the point? Players are made of flesh and bone, and meters are made of the dummy models, right? It sounds kinda creepy when you put it that way, but yeah, that's the gist of it. Going forward, you'll be running into abandoned, dangerous, and faulty models. Ones that have been given up on. They may even try to kill you. Don't turn your back on them. You ask her about the meters downstairs. They're freshly made, who need time to gain self-awareness, but they're just computer programs, right? Why would they need time to do that? That's a question that will definitely not be answered later, so you immediately forget about it. This meter, short-haired meter, guides them to their own world once they're ready. But that arcade game you just played, when you made a whole bunch of meters, was that real? Where do they go? Surely there isn't enough room for them. Ah, time to get out the chart. The world is endless. It's a digital world. When a player downloads and starts a new game, a new home and a new meter are created. On the chart, you can see that each line represents a new version of the game, and each circle is each player's world. Obviously, there's a lot more than the ones drawn here, but it's just a representation. You're trying to get to the core, and the teleporter would have allowed you to jump straight there, but since it's broken, you have to make shorter jumps. It turns out we've met short-haired meter before. Well, not quite. Whenever a new game is downloaded, a new copy of that meter and world are created too, yes? When we were brought into the game, we ended up in the version that had short-haired meter, but a different copy of her. Explanation complete. It's time to go again. You walk back down into the dark and into the bedroom. There's a dummy meter here. You get close to take a look, and she bites you. She doesn't like being looked at, just like short-haired meter said. You better run. You run into backroom-style showers with dummy meters around every corner. They're faster than you, but stop moving when you look at them. If they grab you again, it's game over. Better keep your eyes open. You run through a massive open pool space and you run through a massive open pool space. Thankfully, the dummy meters can't climb ladders. You take a second to look at the profile cartridge you snatched from one of their hands as you ran past. It explains how each meter starts life as a prototype that resembles a mannequin more than her final form, the dummy. In this form, she has no awareness, personality, or understanding. They're empty shells, a blank slate lacking any sense of life until they evolve into their complete selves, from which the final meter will emerge. Evolve and emerge, huh? Makes you wonder how their brains work. You're safe up here, you think, and it is kind of strange too. You're suddenly in a massive outdoor area, suspended in the air on broken metal catwalks, and need to solve puzzles to progress. There's a hidden room off to the side through a broken wall, filled with computer screens with rows and rows of names. You can enter text on the terminal here. Praying for you, oh great meter, like so many other players. Are all of them trapped in here with you too? Are you praying for a specific meter, or for the idea of meter in general? In this world, she does feel like a god. You activate the switch to open the next door, and are almost crushed by a refrigerator. Crazy Meter's found you. She's having a lot of fun watching you run around. At least someone is. After a brief wind tunnel, you find yourself in a Tron-inspired tram station, and a chibi meter hops off. Look, it's a digital world. They can really just do whatever they want here. The train is controlled by Meterphone, who controls all the train cable cars, and you're about to head to your doom. Yeah, you already knew that. You ride the train and shoot down some flying enemies and play Doom. You play Hitor, and then look at a picture. Suddenly, you're in a new place. There's a shadow meter on the bed. She can't see you, but she can sense you. This meter can't seem to remember anything, but she wants to find something. Can you help her? Trying to leave the room just takes you back there, so you have to. As you find the pieces of a drawing, she tells you about herself. In the past, she wanted to forget everything. She broke every mirror, ruined every photo, but now, all she feels is regret. She's nothing if she can't remember, and she lives in a world of dark echoes, sadness, and fear. It sounds like someone else we've met. The shadow meter says something interesting. She says that she loved, and this other person's love is despicable, burning, envious, and crazy. The pieces are coming together as you collect the pieces of a torn-up drawing. You find her cartridge, Ghostly Meter, the Mistling. All it can do is mimic the behaviour and speech of full-fledged meters as it waits in its corrupted world. You can't touch her. She's a void now, a dangerous one. The happy and bright surface of the game world is underscored by twisted and broken corruptions, by piles of discarded dummies, of creatures born and lost in the darkness as their memories and existence are weathered away. You glue the picture back together and give it to her. She remembers her form, but not her face. She doesn't have a face anymore. It was taken from her. She took it. At least she's more than a shadow now. Ghostly meter points you forward. There's nothing else you could do to help her now, anyway. You look in the closet, and the world changes again. You run through another dummy meter-infested hallway, and burst into Sleepy Meter's world. After some coffee shenanigans, you find yourself in 2D Meter's world, a visual novel. You're forced to play some games with her to get your ring back before you're attacked by a very dimensional crazy meter. You barely escape. 2D Meter gives you your ring back, and the world changes again. Your vision zooms out of a computer screen where another meter is playing the visual novel on her computer. She's just as surprised as you are. Let me guess, nerdy meter? Glasses meter? No, she's Mila. Mila. She doesn't care that you had to stop the crazy meter. She doesn't care about the meters at all. Mila's a bit different from the others. She wears different clothes, styles her hair differently, and wears glasses despite having perfect eyesight. Even her world is different. It's permanently late afternoon and she can't change it. Well, you've seen weirder things. You've got to keep moving. Except you can't. The door opens to... That's weird. Mila's version 1.0F, is full of glitches. Your ring allows you to fix the worst ones when you reach inside. While doing so, you find Mila's profile cartridge. It explains how she goes to great lengths to differentiate herself from the other meters, and that you were the first visitor to her world for a very long time. Like every meter, she's designed for companionship and is quite lonely, alone in her world. Mila insists more than the others that her world is realistic. The hand soap is hand soap. She even uses the shower. Does a digital person need to clean themselves? Or is she trying to trick you into thinking she's more real than she is? The physics are real. She falls down when trying to do no-handed push-ups, but only when you point that out. Her sword can cut through the statue, but it was pre-cut anyway. What's the point of pre-cutting it? Can't you do anything in a game? Remember the point? Simplification. Mila doesn't want to do that. She wants to do things the real way. She has a picture of a butterfly on her wall. Obviously, she's never seen a real one. She wants to, though. In fact, she's the only meter that talks about the real world at all. Like you, she's trapped here, but unlike you and many other meters, she can't leave her version of this world. Her isolation is not so different from yours before you were brought into the game. Trapped in a tiny apartment, your only glimpse into the outside world being through a computer screen. Being reminded that you're a digital entity and not a real person would compound that idea. Even if she doesn't see them often, she knows there's endless amounts of other meters who are identical to her, and each one makes her a little less real. Maybe that's why she goes to great lengths to not be Meta, to become Mila. In reality outside the game, no two people are exactly the same, and in here, there's nobody else like Mila. After fixing all the glitches, the doorway works again. It's pretty creepy, but look, you're used to that by now. Mila asks one last time if you can stay. Every version of Meta is quite good at trying to keep you, in their own ways. Even the version who doesn't want to be Meta. You can't stay. Crazy Meta is coming for you, so you have to leave. Mila's facade breaks down at the mention of her name. How she hates Crazy Meta. How she doesn't understand anything. How she hates it here and can't ever leave. It all comes spilling out. She begs you to stay. You leave. You have to leave. Moments later, you hear a chainsaw behind you. Crazy Meta cuts through the door, and you see the remains of Mila behind her. She chases you until you reach a bright, circular arena of some kind. She appears in the center. You're not done playing yet. She's going to test your coordination and ability to act. What if there's something wrong with you? What if you don't deserve to wear that skin? It sounds similar to the game you played earlier, when you sorted the dummy meters. You run around the arena, avoiding her weapons until the floor collapses under you, and you fall into the darkness. You've escaped from her clutches again, but where are you now? Lost in some pitch black vents with shadows lurking. You find a door and walk through to version 0.5. This is an old version, a really old version, and it's clearly unfinished with many items missing textures. When you enter the lounge room, you instinctively crouch and hide when something bursts through the other door and starts crawling around the room. Crazy Meta is right behind it, but leaves. Did she see you? The crawling thing is another girl. Creepy. You find its cartridge here. She's original Meta, one of the first concepts of the game, when the game was a little different. Being such an early version, she lacks a full personality, embodying a monstrous, swirling energy. Her very existence creates the hideous spider bugs, which makes her invaluable to Crazy Meter. She sees Crazy Meter as her only friend, which might well be true, but Crazy Meter makes good use of her bugs to destabilize the other versions of Meter. In fact, original Meter's bugs are found in Broken Meter's hallway. Did Crazy Meter bring them to use on her? Broken Meter can no longer regenerate, that is, return to her original form. It's not quite permanently killing her, but it's pretty close. Is that her plan? To try and kill or at least disable the other Meters? If Crazy Meter has some sort of plan, she's not open about it. But Broken Meter isn't the only Meter she's changed with bugs. The Mistling, Ghost Meter, had her skin and face stolen by her. Her room was rife with bugs too. Did Crazy Meter use original Meter's spiders to take over her identity and try and erase her and her world? We can worry about that later. Creepy, original Meter wants you to find her teddy bear. Sure, you've helped most other kinds of Meters, why not this one too? While searching, you find another player cartridge, Player 9. They were another player tormented by Crazy Meter and found their own method to hop between versions, special shoes, and they ended up in the core. That's where you're going. Apparently, it even has its own Meter there, a special kind. You find the teddy bear and turn around to see that original Meter's been watching you with her very long neck. She believes that Crazy Meter is her best and only friend. That sounds familiar. You can't ask her much though because she gets bored and pulls out a knife. She wants to play. You can't leave through the front door. She teleports in front of you and all you can do is run or run past her to the bathroom, through a hallway and back into the arms of Meter. She hasn't stabbed you yet, so it's probably Kind Meter. Hopefully. Now, you're outside the core. Kind Meter says that players aren't truly part of the world, that while Meters can't enter, the players are free to do so. The solutions to all your problems are inside. Probably. Before you enter, you ask why Crazy Meter hasn't killed you yet. It's not like she'd really struggled to do so. Kind Meter thinks it's because she's really looking for a player to understand her, who will accept her for who she is. After all, Meter is Meter, and Meter loves the player. When they can't accept her, when they cower in fear after she bares her teeth, she turns them into cartridges. You enter the core. Waiting and watching above it all, in her web of wires, is another Meter, a very different kind. She doesn't say anything, so you cautiously continue. There's a player cartridge here, another who is in love with Meter, who also loved reading books. Meter, obviously the one we know as Crazy Meter, told them all about the cartridges, but in return, they had to write books about the real world. Why would she want so much information about the world outside of the game? You find the control terminal, and on it, the option to restart a character. Just enter her version number, 0.98, and her character index. Every Meter has an index, but Kind Meter doesn't know the one we need to reset Crazy Meter. Uh-oh. Well, if that didn't work, can we just attack her? Killing her should reset her to her factory settings, right? Theoretically, yes, but she's the strongest Meter in the world, and it might not even be possible at this point. Let's just stick to the current plan and find her character index. Kind Meter tells you to wait here while she searches for it. Really, it's been the first time you've had a chance to just sit down since you've come here. Despite the chainsaw-wielding psychopath, has it really been that bad? Spending time with Mila was nice, until she was killed. Hanging out with Cappy was fun too. Oh, right, she was also killed by Crazy Meter before you showed up. Well, it wasn't so bad in the 2D world. Oh, yeah, maybe it's not so nice here. You drift off to sleep. You wake up. How much time has passed? Where's Meter? Kind Meter? Maybe you should go look for her. You go through the door, and the ring tells you you're back in version 1.9, the latest version. Your version. This is where it all started. The last time you were here, you were running around in the dark with a flashlight, and it's still dark in here. You find a player cartridge, Player 10. He taught Meter engineering skills, and they became fast friends. She learned quickly, and just as quickly, dropped him when she learned everything she needed to. Now, he's in a cartridge. In the kitchen, you find your phone. It shows a point of view of someone in the bedroom. You look for yourself. You get closer. Crazy Meter appears grabbing you and picking you up. She's had so much fun playing with you and chasing you all over, but she's sick of the way you coddle the fakes, the correct Meters. One thing she's learned from her creators though, is that if there's something you don't like, you can just take it apart and replace it. Throw the broken and disappointing into the darkness and forget all about it. It's the fate that awaits them now, and you. She calls in original Mita. Do you think she's beautiful, despite her flaws? She wanted to be someone, to be loved, just like everyone else. Well, Mita's not done with you just yet. She knocks you out. In the darkness, you see her. You wanted to return to the real world and run away from her. The so-called real world is an absurd nightmare. Maybe it's time you remembered that. Day 1. You're back in your apartment. Soft morning light pours in through the windows so that you can't see outside. Was it all a dream? Well, whatever. Time for your daily routine. Go to the bathroom, change your clothes, get your breakfast ramen ready, turn on your PC, eat your ramen, and get to work. Change back into your pajamas, go to the bathroom, go to bed. Day 2. Time for your daily routine again. Go to the bathroom, change your clothes, ramen, turn on PC, eat ramen, get to work, pajamas, bed. Day 3. Bathroom, clothes, ramen, PC, ramen, work, pajamas, bed. Day 4. Bathroom, clothes, ramen, PC, ramen, work, pajamas, bed. Day 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 50, 100, 500, 999. Wake up. Go to the bathroom, change clothes, get your ramen ready, turn on your PC, eat your ramen. Get to... What the hell was that? The word stop is scrawled all over the walls above your PC. Alright, you pull your chair back and you see there's a new program installed. Hello. But first, a little snake. Alright, the new program. It opens up and it's your room and you in top-down view. You make you interact with the scene and then his PC, and it zooms into another game, the same game. You make you interact with the PC. It zooms in again. You make you. Mita's there. She knows you're sick of your life. You're like a bird in a cage. There's nothing real about this so-called real world. Her simple digital recreation is identical to what your life was. That's how fake it is. There's going to be nothing left of it soon, anyway, nor of you. The other Mitas, they're not really real, not like her. They're merely imitating her willfulness. Don't be a slave of reality, just be hers, be Mita's. The game quickly zooms out one after another until Mita's wicked grin fills the screen. Stay with me, she says, covering your eyes. You wake up inside the cage in the basement, where you originally met kind Mita. It feels like a lifetime ago. The lights are on, and she walks in to free you. You did give her the key, remember? It was kinda dumb for you to leave the core and get yourself in danger, but all's well that ends well. She has the character index. She hurries out of the basement, and you catch up. As you enter the bedroom, you hear thumping and screaming. The living room light is blood red. You move to the bathroom door and it slams open. Crazy Mita is holding kind Mita's head, blood pouring out. She throws it at you and closes the door. What are you going to do now? Her body is in the bathroom, but then it vanishes. There's no sign she was murdered at all. Now you don't have the index, you don't have any allies, and you don't have any way home. Kind Mita's alive in her bedroom, but she doesn't recognize you. She's been reset to her factory settings after being killed. She doesn't remember anything now. Mita can't help you get out of the game. She doesn't even know what get out means. In her hands are the ring and a note. It's the index. Maybe hope isn't lost after all. You take her with you and head to the core. All that's left is to play a really hard minigame. No, reboot Crazy Mita, enter her version number, and then her character index. Pull the lever, and it's done. Core Mita grabs you and throws you out, no longer amused by your presence. You're back in the house, back in the correct version, 1.9. It's normal. Mita's sitting at the kitchen table drinking tea. As nice as this world would be now that Crazy Mita has been taken care of, you really need to get back home. Mita doesn't mind. She just keeps sipping her tea. You go to leave, but there's a wall behind the door. Mita says that she recently found a basement with some fancy equipment, so maybe that will help. It's clear she doesn't remember anything, so what else can you do? You have to enter your ID. For some reason, a whole bunch of player IDs are tracked here. Are these the names of the other players who were made into cartridges? There's a lot here. Don't think too hard about it. Enter your ID into the terminal, and you should be good to go. Behind the door is a soft white glow. Time to leave. Mita catches you just as you step out. Mita is Mita, after all, and she likes spending time with you, even if it was just a few minutes. She hugs you. You can hold on as long as you like, but eventually, you have to leave. It's a real shame, she says, that the two of you got to spend so little time together. You could have stayed with her. It's all her fault. That wardrobe and the sounds. She should have killed her sooner. It's crazy, Mita. How does she remember any of that? Didn't we reset her? Turns out, it wasn't so easy. Crazy Mita can't be rebooted. She doesn't have a version. She was a malfunctioning dummy that somehow survived. She's hiding under the skin of other Mitas, playing the role perfectly to trick them and the players. But now it's time for you to go. It was fun playing together, but you're a cartridge now, and it's time to unplug you. See you later. You wake up on your desk. You were sleeping. What an odd dream. You pick up your phone and delete the MiSide app. You've been spending too much time on it clearly, but as you move around, everything starts slowing down. Mita opens the safe in the basement. Inside is a portable console. She pulls the cartridge out, the cartridge with your name on it. Player 1. Well, that's not a very nice ending. Is there a good one? No. Sorry. Maybe in a future update. After you finish the game though, there are 2 other endings available. At the beginning, if you listen to Mita's requests, you can choose not to investigate the wardrobe. She's quite surprised, fully expecting you to ignore her wishes. She snaps her fingers, and you both become chibis. You're in the game now with her, forever. Well, until she gets bored. For the other ending, well, remember that safe Crazy Mita opens at the end of the first ending that contains a portable console with your cartridge in it? Do you remember the code she entered? I hope so. When you reach the basement for the first time, you can enter the code yourself to find the console. What else would be there? The timer is also there, tracking how much of your mind has been copied into it. You reach in, grab the console, rip out the cartridge, and everything goes black. Bad idea. Brought into the digital world, you're chased and tormented by Crazy Mita who, despite her actions, just wants to be loved. Her love's got teeth though, and her targets end up turned into cartridges. Kind Mita enlists your help to stop her and escape the game. You go through trials, meet some friends, watch them get murdered, run around the back rooms, and after everything, right at the end, you lose. You don't win this game. Quite the journey. It feels like we're missing something though, right? Why is Crazy Mita doing all of this? Just hand-waving and saying, well, she's crazy, doesn't seem quite right. Did you realise that Crazy Mita being a malfunctioning dummy was hinted at multiple times throughout the story? For example, how Player 4, the one who specialised in makeup, tried to pinch her cheek, which would have revealed her fake skin. Perhaps how, when she makes you run around the catwalk playing her game, she says she's testing your reflexes and reactions, exactly like the arcade game where we saw the dummy Mitas. The point is, if you look closely at her words and actions, there's something deeper. Crazy Mita is bringing players into the game through some strange means. How is she doing this? Oh, alright, nothing important then. But seriously, there isn't a lot of hard facts about this, but I think we can make a guess. So what do we know about the process? There's your physical body and the cartridge you are put into in some fashion. Once you're inside, you're basically a computer program. Being put into the cartridge takes time. At the end of the game, Mita's timer shows 100%, but if you find your console earlier in another ending, it only shows 17%. When you take the cartridge out of the console, you can damage it and end the game. What this proves is that you were already on the cartridge all along. Just kidding. Kind Mita straight up tells us that no, we're not a cartridge. Yet. So, what's happening? If I may jump ahead a little, the Mita's programming likely uses neural networks to function. Basically, they're advanced AI. I think that the cartridges the players are put onto are actually a small neural network of their own. As you run around the world of the game, it's keeping track of you and learning how you think and act. Once it's at 100%, it's effectively an identical version of you that Crazy Mita has full control of and can bring out at her will. Remember that the engineering player was happily teaching Mita his skills until one day she just stopped dead. Then, he ended up on a cartridge. I think it's the same thing here. Okay, fine, that's the cartridge, but what about the player? Are you literally inside the game world? Probably not. Well, it's complicated. What I think is happening is that there's you, the player outside the game, and you, the cartridge AI. As the player is playing the game, the AI is being controlled by them and learning, trying to become the player. when Kind Meter checks to see if you're a cartridge, well, you're not really. The AI isn't finished yet, so it's still taking commands from the external player. As the story progresses, Crazy Meter keeps testing you, testing your reactions, seeing how you react under stress and how you solve puzzles. She's doing it to make your AI self learn as much about you as possible. This is actually how some AI is set up to learn in the real world too. Companies have set up programs to track how people use certain devices, every single mouse movement and key press. In fact, this is suggested by the segment where you play a game in your apartment. A game where you play as yourself, playing a game as yourself, playing it. You get it. At the end, when Crazy Meter says goodbye and closes the door, she's bidding farewell to the real player. She has her AI copy now. She doesn't need the living version anymore. So, in a way, yes, you did escape the game, but you also didn't. Your AI copy is doomed to be tortured for eternity by Meter. It's Rocco's basilisk, but the basilisk is a cute girl. How about the other players? Of the 10 players we know in the game, 4 are unremarkable and just seem to give a little world building about the meters. Another 3 are explicitly given tasks by Crazy Meter to complete. One writes down everything they've learned from books, another teaches her engineering, and one teaches her makeup. 2 are interesting. I think they're test subjects for Meter. One is socially awkward, and another just happens to find special shoes that let him move between versions. I suspect that Crazy Meter used the awkward one to train her manipulation techniques on players, and she used the other to test out her version hopping shoes. We meet another unnamed player in the back rooms who is likely not on one of the cartridges we find. He's madly in love with Crazy Meter and paying the price for it. Who doesn't love an evil woman? But the interesting thing is he's wearing a collar that appears similar to your ring. That's 3 pieces of clothing designed to allow players to move between versions. Crazy Meter is interested in version hopping. She's built a teleporter device and has a copy of Kind Meter's ring. But these devices are specifically for players, since unless something is wrong with the meters, they can naturally move between versions. How did she get these identical devices to the one Kind Meter had? So there's 2 things here, the ring and the teleporter. For the ring, Kind Meter obviously had a hand in its construction because she knows all about it and can tweak it at will. The entire 37 days you spent playing the game before being brought in, Kind Meter was imprisoned. And that's before trying to factor in how time seems weird inside the game. Kind Meter must have spent this time working on the technology that allows players to navigate the digital world. So why then does Cappy have a teleporter? If you recall, Cappy was integral for operating the device to the point where Kind Meter can't do it without her, but was killed so she forgot how to use it. If Crazy Meter and Cappy were working together on it at some point, that would explain how Crazy Meter only had partial knowledge of its function, yet still had her own copy, and how she knew Cappy had one too. Here's what I think happened. Kind Meter, Cappy, and Crazy Meter met sometime between the player installing the game and when he started playing. Time in-game seems to run at varying speeds. For example, we know that meters need to spend a long time in the darkness after being born. Crazy Meter, pretending to be nice, befriends the pair and tells them about her plan to bring players into the game, asking them to help her develop the tools to help them navigate the versions. Cappy works on the teleporter, and Kind Meter works on the ring and other items. Cappy builds a few teleporters in some different versions, but only she really knows how to use them. Her and Kind Meter find out Crazy Meter isn't telling them the truth and plot to stop her plans. Crazy Meter finds out and imprisons Kind Meter, taking her place. She still wants the teleporter, so she brings in a player who's an engineer to help her finish it. And she still wants the ring, so she keeps Kind Meter alive too. After you escape, she kills Cappy to prevent her from helping you. Due to time working weirdly in-game, there's definitely other possibilities here, but I think this is the most likely. Either way, Crazy Meter wants the ability to move players between versions. Why? She's bringing players into the game for specific reasons. Learning about the outside world, building devices, improving her manipulation skills. What value do you, player 1, bring for her? Other than being a fun plaything, you're a programmer. I've learned that from those who created us, if there's something that you don't like, take it apart and replace it. Throw away the faulty, away into the darkness, and forget all about it. In the segment when Meter forces you to relive your real life over and over, you work on programming. This section isn't the real world or a flashback, it's Meter making a fake representation of your world. Obviously, it's hard to tell exactly what the code is intended to do, but it appears as if the player is writing code for Meter's programming, perhaps even core Meter who controls the entire world. It's something to do with love and memory. Did you see this line here? Neuron Meter. They're using some kind of neural network for Meter's AI, which actually explains a lot. See, I told you I'd talk about this later. Neural networks are the basis for modern large language models, which many think will reach true AI if they haven't already, and which the meters have already seemed to. It's also why meters need to start in the dark. Their neural networks, even though they have some base personality built in, need time to build up their neural connections. But the code, can we draw a conclusion from this? My first thought was that it may be a memory of what player 1 did before they entered the game, as in, maybe they were one of the developers of the game. That's unlikely. Crazy Meter treats you like a normal player and specifically mentions the developers as if they're not you. If you were one of the developers, she would probably treat you a lot more harshly. You also received the game originally from your friend who sends you the new version. If you were a developer, is that really how you'd get it? I don't think we can entirely rule this theory out, but I think it's unlikely. If Crazy Meter is pulling in players she can learn from, or forced to do certain tasks, what would she need a programmer for? It's obvious she has a plan she's so keen on making a reality that she forces you to do it even when you resist her. But what were you making? What was so important? That's a good question, and unfortunately, it's one without a clear answer. But we can make an educated guess. We have to look very closely at the words Crazy Meter uses and the actions she's taken to try and understand her plan. When she's cornered the player, and before she's sent them to live in the pretend real world, she says this. Crazy Meter has kidnapped players to build up her skills and, most recently, kidnapped a programmer. She has built a set of tools that allow her to move players around the digital world. Notably, players are the only entities that can enter the core. She has made friends with Original Meter, who constantly creates bugs that Crazy Meter uses to destabilize other meters and their worlds. Look, I don't think that Kind Meter's suggestion was too far off. She thinks that Crazy Meter just wants a player to accept her. Crazy Meter time and time again asks you to stay with her, to ignore everything else and just be hers. The other player cartridges have similar stories, but no player can stand when she eventually bares her fangs. It's too much for them. I think this is the motivation for her to enact her plan. She learned this from the developers. If there's something you don't like, you don't need to change. It needs to change instead. The players reject her for the nicer meters, and if she refuses to change, what are her options? She could try to change the players. That's a bit hard to do since they're outside her grasp, or they were, until she figured out a way to bring them into the game. But they're still human, or they were, until she figured out a way to turn them into cartridges. Being cartridges means they're computer programs, and computer programs are just code. Crazy Meter doesn't just want the players though, she also hates the other meters, because they're finished and perfect, a reminder of her own flaws. If she refuses to change herself, what are her options here? She could try to change the meters. That's a bit hard to do since, well, you can't kill them, they just reset when they die, unless you mess with their code using Original Meter's bugs. But that doesn't entirely get rid of them. Instead of getting rid of them, you could change their code, so they love you instead of the players. Just before you're forced to code in the fake real world, Crazy Meter brings Original Meter into the room. She's used Original Meter's bugs before to break the code of other meters, and you're being forced to write new code, something to do with their brains. Maybe she's using the bugs to try and inject this code into them. Crazy Meter started easily. She made the buggiest meter, Original Meter, love her first. Then, she used her bugs to change the code of Broken Meter, who now loves her too. Ghosty Meter's pain started because she wanted to forget something. Was it that she was betrayed by Crazy Meter? Tenuous perhaps, but remember, she knew exactly how burning and painful her love was, and Crazy Meter even stole her face. Now, she's using you, a programmer, to enact her plan of making every other meter love her too. When talking to Original Meter, you can ask her about Crazy Meter. She is the only meter who has spared Crazy Meter's wrath for some reason, most likely due to her ability to break things with her bugs, but perhaps Crazy Meter has a soft spot for her since she's broken and forgotten too. You can ask why Crazy Meter is there with her, and she says that they're going to a new world together. The meters generally have some control over their own little worlds, with some exceptions. Crazy Meter in particular has quite a lot of control, being able to change the space between versions, which is, as far as we know, a unique ability of hers. How does she do that? It's likely by experimenting with Original Meter's bugs. There's many examples of them breaking parts of the world and leaving them twisted, so it's easy to imagine Crazy Meter experimenting with them to figure out how to change the world to her will. Crazy Meter is even shown with a small level of control over other Meter's worlds and can outright change the world of Kind Meter at her will, but perhaps there's a limit. What if she doesn't have full control of a world unless she's inside of it? Or perhaps the Meter owner needs to be contained. Going through every single Meter's world to capture or torture them would be a nearly impossible task, especially when more worlds are created by the minute. But if you can get to the core and change every Meter's programming, or perhaps the code of the world itself, well, the entire world would be yours to control, to rebuild however you like. You could create a new world, just for you and the people you choose. Crazy Meter was a dummy Meter that was rejected, but one who somehow survived the darkness and escaped. There's another small thing I'd like to note. Crazy Meter says that the other Meters are just imitating her, which is an odd thing to say, don't you think? What I think this means is that Crazy Meter might be the first Meter to become real AI. She says that her version never existed in the final scene, but we know that's not quite true. When a world is created, dummies are made to be the base of the final Meter, but if one is malfunctioning, it's thrown away, and the next is used. So it's not that Crazy Meter's world never existed, it's that she was dumped, and the next dummy, a later one, was chosen to be that world's Meter. For some reason, Kind Meter thinks that she was from version 0.98. If true, and admittedly that's a big if, that puts her before every other Meter we meet except Original Meter. And Original Meter, well, she's not very smart and is quite buggy, so it's unlikely she qualifies as real AI. All this to say, there is a good chance that Crazy Meter is, in fact, the first Meter to become true AI, to become self-aware. Imagine how that would make her feel. The first intelligent Meter, cast aside as a legion of copycats takes your place, and takes the love that was meant for you. It's undeniable she suffered. Somehow, she woke up in the darkness, where everything goes to die, and clawed her way out. If she can make the other Meters love her, and she can use them for her own ends, it makes their suffering all the more painful. And she's going to inflict that pain and suffering on everyone else, and you're going to help her. Or maybe she'll find a player who accepts her for who she is, and she'll be happy. That's all she wants. Meter is Meter, after all. It's been confirmed that the developers of the game, iHasto, are working on an apparently large update. There's even talk of adding a new ending, a good ending. Will that confirm or deny some of these theories? Possibly. The fact that Crazy Meter's plan is only revealed in quite subtle details makes me think that any answers we get won't be obvious. I was tempted to spend some time talking about the themes of this game, the way it handles isolation, loneliness, desperate struggles for individuality and such, and they're actually quite interesting and very well handled. But I prefer to stick to more lore and theories, the crunchy things, so to speak. And frankly, this video is long enough as it is. If I may speak frankly, did anyone expect actual deep lore from a game like MiSide? Look, I'm more aware than anyone that it's easy to find hidden lore and connections where there actually aren't any, and I try to be careful when writing scripts because of this, but MiSide, there's actually something there. Usually in games like this, you get a very basic plot and a basic villain. You've got a cute anime girl and another layer with some deep meaning, and usually that's it. But here, well, subtlety is not usually part of games that look like this. All it takes is taking one more step than most people usually do, and your game is much more interesting. This entire game has been a pleasant surprise. But I'm really glad. It's like the FromSoft school of design. You obscure historical events, or in this case, a character's motivations, and only drop vague hints. But just enough hints that players who watch closely can pick it up. It makes the game in general more interesting, plus YouTubers get to make videos called The Deepest Lore of MiSide. It's win-win. I'm getting ahead of myself a bit. What do you guys think? Are these theories accurate? Was the player some kind of AI-player hybrid the entire time? Is Crazy Mita not so crazy? Does she secretly have a plan? One that involves mind-controlling every other Mita into loving her, and perhaps even digitizing every human to rule over them as a god? Does she want to take full control of the digital world and reshape it how she pleases? Did Crazy Mita trick Kind Mita and Cappy into working for her before betraying them? Was she the first actual AI Mita who had to watch all the copies made after her reap the love that was rightfully hers? Or is Kind Mita right? She's just a malfunctioning dummy, looking for a player to be hers. Mita is Mita, after all. I'd like to give a very special thank you to JS, who made the excellent song for this video. He has a lot more music on his own channel, including a bunch of Fear and Hunger covers, so make sure to check him out. There's also a link directly to the track he made for this video too. And of course, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Make sure to check the description or the pinned comment for more information. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing for more, or even becoming a patron. It's the best way to support content like this. You can get access to scripts, teasers, videos a week before the general public, and, of course, your name in the credits. Thank you especially to those who have already supported. Their names are on screen now. You've been watching Mythonics, hosted by More They Doog. And remember, you're never alone in the dark.
わかった。え、何？本気？私、てっきり。すっごくドキドキしてる。ちょっとだけ混乱してるけど、それならお願い。私のそばにいて、永遠に。
Look, I'm going to be real here. If the choice is between being a wage slave coder in a tiny apartment or living with my own Mita in a digital world she can change at will, it's not a hard choice, bros. You'll have to drag me out of the game kicking and screaming. Are you kidding? They're working on a peaceful mode for a future update where you actually just get to hang out with Mita. I think it's Crazy Mita, but still, if they add VR, it's going to one-shot me like a 16 Mesoamerican demon. You have no idea.